Hi, y'all. I'm here to kind of explain to you how I think through and process and teach through Module 3. Okay, we are days away from taking our RSQ, the quiz on the college side, and that is covering all of Module 1 and Module 2. So we've done a lot in these first couple weeks of school. The cool thing is that Module 3 is entirely dedicated to mapping the controversy. So by the end of Module 3, we would have written and submitted our Mapping the Controversy essay. So here's my calendar. Everything in red highlight or yellow is kind of what is needed for this conversation. So we're like over here, it's the 29th of August, it's the Friday before September. And so on Wednesday, we're going to take this RSQ. Immediately following that, on the 4th, we are going to introduce the prompt for the Mapping the Controversy. Then we are going to write our Mapping the Controversy and make it all the way through Module 3 by the time it goes to submit on the 23rd of September. So we have just over 2 weeks to get everything done. The most important thing that I need to do is to go to the pacing resources. So if I'm in Instructor HQ, and I go to table of contents, then I go to course documents. I'm actually going to need a couple things here. So let me open this in a new tab. So this is my pacing resources. As I always say, the most important piece of information to me is going to be this due date. So I'm in group B and my due date is September 23rd, which is what I had on my calendar. And I also, when it comes to these essays, I also have to think about the fact that there is a peer review required. So I want to give plenty of time to get those peer reviews done in case someone's absent or something's going on. So I always give myself one whole class day in between. So we will peer review on the 19th. We will have a day of revision, but really it's just an opportunity for me to clean up and me to make sure everybody has a peer review. And then we go and submit in class on the 23rd. So that really gives me my two main dates that I need, which is the peer review and the submission day. So remember, I can make it due for the 24th or the 25th. I never suggest planning on using all 48 hours. Sometimes I'll push it back a day, but always have some cleanup for internet problems and things like that. Okay, the other thing I wanted on here, so on pacing resources as well, I have some pacing guides. So what I have done is opened up this week by week pacing guide to show you. So I can scroll down. So here I am. They're going to take the quiz. Student submission is a research and summary quiz. So here on the 5th slide is the beginning of the module 3. So if we look at module 3, I kind of break it up into sections. So this is all about writing. So we've written a lot of summaries. So now we have to figure out how to write the other aspects of our essay. So they've already worked on a lot of summaries. Okay, so this outline I actually found in SIBME under Mapping the Controversy. So we've worked on these viewpoint articles, and they might even have one depending on how you worked out your formal research summaries. So I actually require mine to have 3 viewpoint articles, but anyway, the point is they should know how to write these paragraphs generally. So what module 3, they learned that in module 2. So what module 3 is focused on is this 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 are focused on the introduction. And then 3.4 down to 3.8 is focused on the conclusion or like the synthesis area. Okay. So the end of the essay. So module 3 is really focused on writing. I will have to do a little bit of cleanup on research. My kids still have to do some research, but the most important thing is, again, this is all about like really planning backwards. So they need to have a really solid rough draft, which means that we have to have all of their resources due by a certain time and start talking about introduction writing and like start pacing them to write this assignment. And I have 2 weeks to get that done is the way that I view this. Like, what am I going to do for my students to get them to understand these things? So then, and again, you have this beautiful pacing guide that you can totally just go off of. But if I have a general idea that I want to be, they need to have all their research, let's say by the 8th of September. Okay, so I introduce the prompt and I introduce, they have to have all their research by the 8th of September. Then maybe I'm focusing on these 3 days on introduction, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, 15th on synthesis, the 16th on conclusion, and then giving them some time to write in class with the peer reviews due. That is generally like how we're going to pace this. That's not even exactly what I'm doing, but that's a way to consider doing it. So again, you have access to that type of pacing. So where they're talking about synthesis here, they have a draft and they go ahead and submit, right? So this is all about understanding when everything is due. So by the, what was it, the 19th? Yeah. So the 19th, I have to schedule a peer review. Okay. So I already made a video on this, so everything is done, but pretty much, so I'm in 3.13. They have to upload their first draft so that they can be peer reviewed. So assigning that peer review has to get done. So I can also go in and really determine, like, so if I'm like, okay, it's going to take me, I want to take 2 or 3 days to focus on the introduction, modules 1, 2, and 3, then maybe I just take 1 day per. So that's not going to take very long to read. And then I'm going to decide if I'm going to do this quiz, this discussion board, or both. And then same thing here. I think there's 3 assignments here. So I can do this class activity in class. I can have this quiz for homework, this discussion board for homework. So I'm just going to go in and decide what aspects of these modules I'm going to assign to my students. And they can be all of them. I can assign all of this to my students. I can determine which ones I'm going to do in class. But yeah, so really the only other thing I wanted to kind of show you was in this instructor HQ, I need to make sure that I have access to the prompt. So I went to table of contents. I'm under course documents, college course materials, and I have this awesome resource called a guide to mapping a controversy, which is just going to cover module 3. And then I have an MC calibration, which I'm totally going to have my kids do. Thank you for reminding me, on the 22nd. It's a great tool. And then I have a printable PDF, a Word document, or just this like downloaded, this link to the assignment. So this is the prompt with all of the criteria. It's super important that we do that first, in my opinion. I need to cover that first in class so that we know what we're writing towards. And then the outline and talking about all of that will make total sense, and the research will make total sense. So I hope that is helpful. This is module 3 is like super straightforward and to the point, and it seems like it's get a lot simpler than modules 1 and 2, in my opinion. It's very like one focused. So I hope that is helpful. There's a ton of resources in SIGME for you.